At 55, Mark Henry is no longer the same man fans first saw, dominating the world of professional wrestling. The powerful shoulders are still there. The unforgettable presence is still there. But behind the strength, there is a story that many people never truly understood. A story about pressure, expectations, sacrifice, and what happens when a man spends his entire life trying to become strong enough for everyone else. Mark Henry was born on June 12, 1971, in Silsbee, Texas. From the beginning, his life seemed connected to strength. He grew into a young man with extraordinary physical power. But what made him different was not simply how much weight he could lift. It was the discipline behind that strength, the determination, the refusal to quit. Long before millions knew his name, Henry was already carrying enormous expectations. As a teenager, he discovered that his body could do things most people could only imagine. Weightlifting became more than a sport. It became his identity, and eventually, it took him to the biggest stages in the world. He represented the United States at the Olympics and became one of the most respected powerlifters of his generation. But success came with a price. When you become known as one of the strongest people on earth, people start expecting you to be strong all the time. And that expectation followed him into WWE. When Mark Henry entered professional wrestling, not everyone believed he would succeed. Some critics questioned whether a world-class powerlifter could truly become a great entertainer. Others saw him as just a giant man with incredible muscles. But Henry kept going. He endured criticism, awkward moments, injuries, and years of uncertainty. Then, slowly, something changed. The man people once underestimated became one of the most memorable personalities in wrestling. His transformation into the world's strongest man was not just a character. In many ways, it represented his real life. Henry had spent decades proving people wrong. He had learned that greatness is rarely about one perfect moment. It is about surviving the moments when nobody believes in you. But there was another side to his journey. Behind the fame was a man who had to live with the physical consequences of pushing his body beyond normal limits. Years of intense training, competition, travel, and professional wrestling can leave scars that cameras don't always show. The human body can be incredibly powerful, but it is not indestructible. And perhaps that is what makes Mark Henry's story so emotional today. At 55, the question is no longer simply how much weight he can lift. It is what remains after a lifetime of carrying the weight of expectations. Henry eventually stepped away from full-time competition, but he did not disappear. Instead, he entered a different chapter of his life. He became a mentor, a commentator, and a voice for younger athletes. The man who once stood in the spotlight began helping others find their own way into it. That may be the greatest evolution of all, because when you are young, strength means being able to lift something heavy. But as you grow older, strength begins to mean something completely different. It means knowing when to slow down. It means accepting that your body has limits. It means turning your experience into wisdom and using what you learned to help someone else. Mark Henry's journey reminds us that even the strongest people have battles we never see. The scars may not always be visible, the pain may not make headlines, but every year of sacrifice leaves something behind. Today, at 55, Mark Henry represents more than power. He represents endurance. He represents reinvention. And perhaps most importantly, he represents the truth that a person's greatest legacy isn't always the records they break or the championships they win. Sometimes, it's the lives they influence after the applause fades. The world may remember Mark Henry as the world's strongest man, but maybe his greatest strength was simply refusing to let his story end when the spotlight moved on. Because in the end, true strength isn't about carrying the heaviest weight.